killed and reborn, destroyed and remade. I survived the fall of the Storm God's hammer and tore my way free from the Soul Feast's prison. I have rebuilt myself here in my homeland. While my master raised the army I must lead.
If you're thinking that's fucking Cetra, like, shut the fuck up right now. How's it going, everybody? Mr. Mephisto, obviously. Andrew to my friends. Boy, we got a loaded, I don't really call it a show, I suppose, because I'm just live streaming and, spewing thoughts from my head. Have a good rant. Thanks, champ. Yeah, I'll have a video up on YouTube tomorrow for you to watch, at the gym, hopefully. So thanks for stopping in. Um, hopefully I help you get them gains at the gym. The sultry baritone in my voice will carry you to upper echelons of weight training. All right, so yeah, bit of a loaded rantcast tonight. I've got a few subjects I wanna riff on. But first and foremost, it's got to be about Nashcon. Uh, Run by David Griffin out in, well, maybe it wasn't technically Nashville, Tennessee, but close enough to it for someone who's never been there before. 9-10 hour drive for me. Coming down from Wisconsin. Actually went down by Indy, picked up one more on the way, and then finish off the rest of the trip. Um, Nashville, it's Tennessee itself is a lot nicer than I expected as far as like the actual state itself. I've done a lot of traveling. I used to live in North Carolina. I've lived in New York City. I've lived in both Wisconsin, Minnesota. I've done a little stint in Illinois, and I've traveled through a bunch of other states and uh, various cities for tournaments and conventions and such. Um, and I kind of was expecting like a Texas light or something like that for Tennessee, but it was like actually very green and lush, and there was like rolling hills. It was actually a really nice drive. Unlike the drive to, uh, unlike the drive to like say North Carolina, where you hit like West Virginia and it's just the worst, or most driving through Texas where it's just freaking litter everywhere, dead armadillos holding Budweiser cans or bottles on the side of the road, and a lot of like brown lack of trees. So no, it was actually like really pretty. I would love to go to Tennessee again in the future and actually spend some time in like Nashville proper and actually take in some sights. Apart from I think 3 distinct periods in time where I went and left the hotel to get food, I didn't really get much time in the city itself. So um, that's probably one of the only things I lament. But honestly, if you've been done in these tournaments, you know how fast the tournament goes and how little time you have to do basically anything else. Um, so I mean, first of all, I think I really got to start with how I ended up there, which is completely last minute. And I think it's a testament to the strength of the community and the friendships that I've made along this is we're in my year 2 of my leaving the friendly local gaming store to go out about and hit all the tournaments. And this is my first one outside of the Midwest. Even though the Midwest has a very robust tournament scene, as anyone can attest. So you could live your whole Age of Sigmar career only going to Midwest tournaments, and you'd still have a pretty full schedule between Michigan, uh, Illinois, Indianapolis, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. You could go only to those states, never drive more than 6 hours, and have tons of tournaments. So it was nice to kind of go outside of my comfort zone, and travel someplace else where I didn't recognize everybody. Now I did run into a lot of familiar faces and community staples. Vince Venturella was there, from Warhammer Weekly. Tyler Emerson from Scarby and Wells. They were both there. You had Joe Pagano and Jacob Berry and Scrivo and Rob from The Honest Wargamer. So there was a lot of community fixtures there, but like the average tournament goer, I didn't recognize, unlike up here in the Midwest where I can pretty much know pretty much everybody, at least by sight, not necessarily by name or reputation or anything. But I like there's a familiarity to familiar faces, right? When you go to a tournament, you're like, I recognize them. So it was a little bit out of my comfort zone. I am an introvert, despite how eloquent and well spoken I am, and how very willing I am to talk to you anywhere in the world. Um, you know, I'm the embarrassing dad cliche who like talks to the waiters and stuff. Like that's just me. But I'm still very introverted, and I have those introverted tendencies. So I had intended to go next year. Is really like the main point. I had intended to go to the tournament next year. Told David Griffin as much when I ran in. I met him at Brew City this year. We played round three, I believe. Um, Places of Arcane Power. He was running a Storm Drake, Stormcast Eternals list with an ally of some attack eels. And I was running my old Bone Zone, my old Nagash list, and it lasted uh, into the top of two, and I hand dusted his Drake. We had a great laugh. The game was over the quickest I think it's ever been, but it was also one of the more deep experiences I've ever had, and it's really difficult to convey like the caliber of person David Griffin is, but I'm gonna try. I walked up to the table with him. He knew who I was, just kind of he. It wasn't like I have a big reputation. I truly don't. But he made it a point to like check my name and know who I was, and maybe he knew we had interacted a little bit on Twitter. But I'm terrible at connecting people's like faces on social media with who they are in reality. I'm even worse when it's just a picture of your fucking model on your Twitter handle. Like I don't fucking know who you are. So it's like, he came up to me, oh yeah, Mephisto, I know who you are, like that sort of thing. And we had a conversation all through setup without it bogging down the game. It was like, I'm setting up my models and he talks while I'm setting up my models, and then like, okay, and then like now he's concentrating on setting his models up, and I talk to him. It was a really clean setup, but very friendly. It's very, again, it's difficult to describe. You have those games where you just like you shut up until the game gets going, or you shut up when the game gets going, and like the various like start and stop points of conversation. This is very natural, very fluid, constant. He showed a lot of respect for me at the table. He was very patient, um, even when he didn't need to be. Like it was just he just was a great dude. Um, and it is really easy to be humble when you win. It's a lot harder to do that when you lose. And he lost in probably the most bullshit way a human being can lose a game of Age of Sigmar, which is tying on the initiative or on the priority roll of one, and then having your only scoring unit hand of dusted successfully. And he would literally table me, but I had 2 points, and he could never score again in that matchup. So it's like he lost such a manner, and we just went over to the bar, immediately had several drinks, and I really got to know him to the point where I'm like, I want to go to this man's tournament. Now the signups were already through for the most part, um, and if they weren't, I don't remember if they were, or if it was really more on my side, because I mean I pretty much have to schedule my tournaments out for a year in advance because I've got a family. I got to budget it ahead of time. Like I can't just like up and go to a tournament when I like on the seat of my pants. So like it probably wasn't in the cards to make it this year. Well, um, Nashcon, the convention itself, gave him some extra space. He got the bigger room and a second smaller room. Um, so he opened up more space. He opened up more entries. He sent me personally a message, basically, and said, well, he tagged me personally and said, "Hey, spots. I know you want to make it." And like at that moment, I was just like, "Can I even make this happen?" And uh, and this is where the sort of sodality of the Sigmar community, that the brotherhood sisterhood vibe of the Age of Sigmar community. I go, "Can I even make this work?" And I just send Brendan a message. I'm like, "How are the Milwaukee crew getting down to Nashville?" Um, he says how, and I've got space. You can hang in our hotel. Pay your fair share, obviously. Just like, huh? Like it's so crazy it might just work type thing. And then the next step is having how can I make it work, and the next is sort of getting permission to go and make it work. So then it's on me to go talk to Molly or Lulu, as you might know her, depending. Then it's on me to go talk to Lulu, make sure that she's fine for the weekend, and so on and so forth, and just take off some vacation time. I have a good amount of vacation time. My job has a seasonal quality to it, so I like to save a bunch of vacation time for the winter for when I don't hit my hours for the week, and then I can just burn a vacation day. But I have a good amount, and it replenishes quickly. Um, so yeah, I'm like, okay, fine. I'll just take Monday off. I'll work 44 hours in 4 days, so I don't even have to take a vacation day Friday, and ride down. Having never been into Brendan's house, the Lord of Death, you may know him as, or the artist formerly known as the Lord of Death, your current ATC team champion. Uh, like never having been in his house, just like, oh yeah, sure, dude, crash on my couch. We'll leave first thing in the morning. Like I've talked to Brendan for a good period of time. We've interacted through the tournament scene, but like my story for him would be about the same story as a lot of these people I know in the tournament scene. Very quick friends and very strong friends. It's strange. I have been around nerd things my whole life, whether it's D&D or Warhammer Fantasy Battle, 40K for a while in there, Magic the Gathering, the fighter scene, the MOBA scene, the shooter scene, and the anime convention scene. Also the speedrunning community. Um, Amid all those communities, and part of it's a little bit on me. It's where I connected. It's not necessarily that those communities aren't great. I know for a fact that the speedrun community is fantastic, and I know for a fact that the fighter community is pretty fantastic. Um, but like to make friends that fast, they're like, oh yeah, crash on my couch. Yeah, we'll get you down to Tennessee. Like that speaks volumes to what this community is about and how strong the bonds are between the players in this Age of Sigmar community. Even just the nature of meeting David Griffin, wanting to go to his tournament, wanting to sort of cross pollinate the regions with players and stuff like that. Um, that alone, it's why I love this game so much. It's why this game means so much to me. So yeah, suddenly I'm good to go for Nashcon. Then it comes list time. Now, uh, David does something I fucking love. Um, I'm I'm kind of a list scientist. I love theory crafting. This is consistent throughout D&D and anything. I like rules and systems and figuring out how they interact and work and coming up with combos. So like in D&D, it takes the form of finding good race, class, feat combos, um, things that people haven't thought of. So I had like a Deepwood Scyther in 3.0 because a lot of the wording for feats for ranged weapons specifically state ranged weapons or attacking at ranged, and not specifically what type of weapon. Now, some of the stuff says when you make an attack with a bow, when you make a ranged attack with a bow, but a lot of it used to said when you make a ranged attack. So I took throw anything with a scythe on or like Disciple of Dispater, so it's an iron scythe for extended crit range. A Deepwood Sniper who has a bunch of extended crit range, and I made a guy who has a crit with like something like a ×9 crit range on I think it was a 14 to 20. Just this insane thing that I made because I find those connections and rules and I like doing that. Some people call it rules lawyering, but I think that's a automatic negative connotation. It doesn't have to be good. Sometimes you find a cheeky combo, like in 5th edition, I found a netter combo because the way they wrote the language for throwing a net, and I find it really funny. Now it doesn't do any damage, and breaking out of a net is really simple, but making a guy who can throw 4 nets a turn is really funny. So I did it. Like there are things like that where you find these where you just find fun language and fun interactions. It oftentimes takes the form in theme. Uh, I'm I tend to be a theme builder. I have a theme. I love Black Knights and Death Rattles. So for my Nagash list I ran for a year, it was skeletons. I didn't use Grimghast Reapers, and I found a way to make it work. Top 10 at Bruce City. Won some hardware with it. Like I had success with that. That's the type of person I am. And here's a tournament where I get 2 lists to build. Awesome. That's my fucking jam. Now I understand it could be a barrier of entry for some players because, oh, I don't have 2 armies. Um, Not really. You know, swap up your enclaves, switch some traits and artifacts, and you've got a second list there. I think that actually is really intelligent and smart for like an IDK player or something along those lines that like I have a great take all commerce list as is, but I can like fiddle a little bit to take the Sword of Judgment for this matchup or switch into that Cloak of Midnight for the shooting matchup. Like that's nice. That's a nice little thing to have to be able to do. And for somebody like me where you can really kind of maximize the potential of 2 armies where I can borrow models from some of my friends, like the gears in my brain just keep going, and the fun for the tournament has already begun before I've even left my home. I'm coming up with lists and stuff like that. So, um, that's where I came up with 2 lists. One, my kind of like modernizing my old Nagash list because a lot of stuff changed in the GHB. I didn't run my Nagash list at Midwest Meltdown because the specific way they broke it, like, yeah, some stuff got cheaper. I didn't have, Graveguard got cheaper. I didn't have 30 Graveyard. I had 10 Graveyard left over from when you had to buy them in units of 5. And they were really expensive and kind of not worth it. Like, um, it was, it made, for Midwest Meltdown, I had to change a lot of stuff. Well, going into this, I had access to some other models, so I was able to kind of build, really just go into the tool shop and tool up some lists. So I landed on a modern Nagash take, basically Nagash plus 100 bodies, and the Purple Sun. Because if you take Nagash with the Purple Sun, moral victory, it's like he didn't increase in points, and that's that's kind of how I thought about it at the list building stage. But also, I think it answers a problem in the meta right now that we're going to see become a little bit more prevalent going forward. It punishes you a lot less because you have regenning units, and it really extends some death to other units out there. So it's really nice. Um, I I like the tech. Purple Sun did perform as expected all weekend. So the list science was successful there. I do recommend running Purple Sun, provided you have a delivery system for it, because it casts on an 8, I believe. Nagash has that beautiful, beautiful +3, which makes him a wonderful delivery system for the Purple Sun. And Archon would be similarly solid, but see Haywo's video on Archon and what he thinks of that. That pretty much the same opinion I gave him too. So we're kind of in line there. Uh, so yeah, Purple Sun, pretty awesome. Performed as expected all weekend. One thing I didn't realize is that David wasn't going to be using realm spells. You just got the one realm spell, and that makes Nagash a little less desirable. Which is where my second list came in handy. I ran Death March. Uh, I I have said a long time, and I don't think anyone in the community who is familiar with playing Legion of Nagash will find it surprising or is surprised by it, and they were probably doing it honestly while Nagash was still unnerved. But I think Death March is a better way of running the army. I think Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon is a better general for what the army wants to do. Yeah, Nagash brings spell phase dominance, but we're kind of in a post obsessed with spells phase of AOS 2 now. Um, it wasn't your fault you got obsessed with spells. Games Workshop told you to be obsessed with spells and magic. After all, Malign Portents, AOS 2, that was kind of the shtick. Everyone should be casting spells, except I kind of always disagreed. If you don't cast spells really well, you can end up wasting a lot of points. So, pardon me. And you do want a good delivery system for spells, but I think there's a solid Death March list out there. Uh, it's how I would run it if I weren't forced to be grand host at this tournament, because that was one stipulation, is both of your lists had to be the same faction. So I couldn't do like grand host and say Legion of Sacrament, which is what I wanted to do. But yeah, Legion of Sacrament Death March. Pick up that cheap corpse card. Get a bonus to cast on your spell, so you're casting the Van Hells on a 5-up instead of a 6-up. Like, um, there's a lot of, for as set as Death March is for what units are in it, there's a lot of points left over once you buy the core of the army to really experiment and season to taste with. And that's where I think a lot of legs still exist uh, in specifically Legions of Nagash. And we'll get to, maybe I'll touch on some stuff regarding that later on. But yeah, my two lists I ran Nagash and 100 bodies, and Death March list with 20 Black Knights in one unit. Uh, the Death March list dropped one game of the 3 games I played it. Uh, the one game it dropped, it should have won. The dice betrayed me. Um, and I can go a little bit more into that during the recap. But it lost one game. Uh, the volume of dice I was throwing at a guy and the general strategy of what I did shouldn't have failed. It just sometimes we play the game for a reason. I'm not mad about it. I would play that exact same way. Uh, like nine. Like if I played that exact matchup with the exact opponent and his exact army, I would play it the same way 10 times in a row, and I would win 9 of them. This was just the one I lost. Um, so, well, there's probably more outliers than that, but strange things happen when dice are involved. You'll learn in any game of chance, right? So those are my two lists. Uh, Nagash, the 100 bodies were 80 skeletons, 20 grave guards. Pretty straightforward. It was Necromancer, Nagash himself, Purple Sun, the spell doors, and an extra command point came in 1990. I didn't get a triumph either of the times I played that list. Uh, that list needs to go back in the oven. It's not quite done yet. You really, really need a third hero. I've said it all. I always say it on Death. Death wants to play with 3 heroes. You really need a third hero. It was just kind of tight getting it in. How would I do it? Um, the 40 block of skeletons becomes they want first of all it becomes chain rasps. They're really never at the full 40. They're almost always used for screening and bubble wrapping stuff. Chain rasps just do that job better. And they maintain their lethality a little stronger when they drop below the 30 and the 20 threshold for bonus attacks on skeletons. So that's what I would one change I'd make outright, and then I think that second block of 40 skeletons just becomes you free it up to be more points to do other stuff. You don't. Nobody killed all 80 skeletons any game, and skeletons are less resilient. So uh, that would be my main thing is maybe get a Lord Executioner in there. He's got some tech. Um, I still like White Kings on steeds just because I favor their mobility a great deal. 12-inch move is it's very good in the army. But yeah, basically you got to think of it. You're gonna have 3 units and 3 leaders, and your 3 units are always going to be with their respective leader. So if I were to do it again, it's still probably coming at about 80 to 100 bodies. Um, and I do still think Nagash is playable, but Vince Venturella on Warhammer Weekly is talking a lot about that fat middle meta. You're in the middle. You're pretty firmly in the middle with that build. The outliers on the powerful scale, they're playing with new technology right now. And it's just their new technology is very good. The old technology is still pretty reliable, but the new stuff is it's very good. Things of note for the list: I did play Slanesh game one. Isaiah, um, in our community, he grudged me round one, so it was flattering to be grudged by the boy Wonder. I felt pretty good about how I had built Nagash into that matchup, but I deployed poorly, letting him basically kill my Necromancer turn one, top of turn one when he charged. Otherwise, I in like 2.5, 3 turns, he only gained enough depravity to summon a unit of Daemonettes, and he was very upset about that. Because, well, I had built my list to not surrender a lot of depravity. Um, which is why I said, if I deploy better, I think he still takes the game, but we play a real game and I have a chance to steal it. So kind of want a rematch on that one. I want I like the results of the list science came back and it was inconclusive, but I got important data that I would like to run the numbers on again. Really is what talk about there. So that's round one, day one, focal points against Boy Wonder Slanesh. I take a major loss, but I do get my secondary. Speaking of secondaries, David Griffin used schemes. Uh, I found the schemes super refreshing based on the book secondaries. I hate the book secondaries. Most of them are Winmores. Only a handful of them are interesting at all. Um, the schemes, while I don't think any of them would seem super revolutionary to anybody playing it, the nature with how they were dished out was actually not too unlike how you select your secondaries in the standard Age of Sigmar format, where you have, here's a list of all the hidden agendas, pick one for this game. What I liked about this is he had several just piles of these cards all sorted out, and you walked up and you didn't see them; they were face down. When you got your tournament pack, you drew 6 of them at random, and he said, "Oh yeah," so you drew 6 of them at random. Um, and then you had 5 rounds, which meant you'd have one sort of burn card that didn't matter, and then you sort of gamed. What I like when the tournament pack or the tournament allows you some other gaming to do outside of the table, and that was one of those examples. It's like you're playing a little bit of a poker game. You get your cards, you look at them, you've got like a hand of cards, and then you're kind of selecting based on what you know is about to go down on the table. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I think overall the schemes were a little less win more than your standard hidden agendas. Um, as evidenced by the fact that not everybody automatically got them all. You had a lot of people on top tables that had the one game where they missed one, because they weren't gimmies, but they weren't obtuse garbage things that no army can complete. One of them I had was bodyguard. I had to have basically 2 heroes within a certain amount of inches of each other. One of them's the bodyguard, like guarding the other hero throughout the game. If they both survived, I got my secondary. I got blood for the blood god. Uh, had to do 40 wounds on a piece of terrain. Uh, I did get lucky in the terrain. I had a little piece of forest on the one I used that for. So it's like I'm just gonna put my skeletons on there, and a bunch of them were gonna die and reach in. I'm gonna get it. So I had to game to set it up, right. I had to make sure that fight happened there. Um, I had uh, plant the flag, which was really funny. I had to have like a standard bearer in my army actually run forward and plant a flag, like Iwo Jima style. So that was pretty fucking cool. I had a curse one, which was really neat. So I had a unit that was picked that was cursed, and if it died, it passed the curse, and I could get the curse back. So like basically the whole point was to like get the curse, pass it off, and then just like ignore the unit so that they ended the game with the curse. So I did get that one. That one was really fun, actually. It was I thought it was kind of obvious which unit was my cursed unit, but like I I threw it in such a position that um they couldn't avoid it, and 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 it was nice. But the other thing about the schemes is like you have no idea what 6 schemes anybody has. They have their secret deck. Unlike with hidden agendas, you're looking at the same hidden agendas every. You're just like, I have this same exact list you have. Okay, like maybe like some people favor the consistency. I like the sort of gaminess of the schemes. And schemes really are one of the things that makes Nashcon Nashcon. Uh,
Yo,
hey, how's it going, man? You caught me mid cast here. So I'm just talking about schemes right now.
cool.
Well,
Disc.
we're joined by the illustrious Haywo here. I am officially not lying in my title now. Where was I? Okay. Yeah, so schemes I really liked. He had a trophy for schemes. And this brings me to my only criticism of Nashcon. It was the 2 lists tournament. It was the tournament that was the thing about the tournament I was the most excited about, is having these 2 lists. I wish he had done a lists trophy. And I'll pass along the suggestion. He could change nothing about the tournament, run it the same next year, and it'd still be a blast. It would be one of the top tournaments NA. Even if he didn't change that, but I think that's just Domus. I know did it at Midwest Meltdown, and before that, I know Brendan had his big three, I think was what the trophy was called. He had the big three list where you had to go 3 and 2 with it, and you had all these like situations that basically force you to make a fluffier list, an interesting list. Um, and so I would like to see like a list, like list science trophy. Like, I thought that would have been like kind of cool. Have your two lists be not share a model between them or something along those lines. Um, where like you have two lists, you have to be in the same faction, but like you don't share uh, more than a model between them or more than two models between them because some armies do have some auto includes you got to be sort of aware of. Slaughter priests and Khorne, like you can't make a list without them for the most part. Um, Same thing with like necromancers and death. You pretty much can't make a list without them. Stonehorns and BCR. So maybe like be like you share no more than two scrolls between your two lists, something along those lines. Um, David Griffin knows how to put together a good pack, so I trust him to come up with whatever his constraints would be. And then honestly, next year I'd probably go for that trophy. I like the list science aspect, so that'd be a lot of fun. The other thing he did that I loved, and this is something every TO in the entire world, I want you to like lean really, really close to the screen and or turn your headphones up. Um, he had the terrain all set, obviously, but then he also had like these plastic terrain markers with what it was already printed on it, already on the tables when you showed up. This is ideal. I don't know if he randomly generated it or if he like concocted them for each table to be like unique and different and a fun experience. Uh, in either case, it's great. Um, if you randomly generated it, whatever. The tables weren't all the same, so I suspect he did it randomly. Although the possibility exists that like I was on a table with a volcanic mat, there was volcanic terrain on there. Maybe he went through. He's like, oh, I gotta have volcanic on this one. So you know, that's in either case, just do that. It saves time at the tabletop for your players. It avoids confusion down the line. It's clean. It's so clean. It just every TO should just be doing that. It's perfect. He had 60 people in the tournament, so like 30 tables. Um, I imagine that it took some time to do that, but just do it. Shia LaBeouf, what are you waiting for? Just fucking do it. So that was awesome. Um, and then round two. So yeah, that round one it was Slanesh. Round two, Duality of Death against Anthony Polcastro. Now I talked to him on Twitter a little bit. Um, he is one of those like high energy players at the table, and I don't mean high energy as in like frantic or manic. Like he is just happy to be at the table, playing the game. He came up to me like at the end of the weekend, and he's like, I can't remember, he said 3 or 4. I think he said I had 4 great games of Age of Sigmar, and you were one of the 4. Because I got a little mopey on day 2, and I guess we could get into that a little bit, but he was just a scholar at the table, man. What a guy. He was on Stormcast, pretty much a shoot cast list. Less of the Raptor, the sort of modern take with the Raptors, and a lot of 4 Ballista Ordinator. He had some Paladors because their points went down, so you just run them. He had 3 units Adjudicators were his battle line options, and then just all the meat and potatoes to like get synergies with the Knight Azeros for the bonus for the to make the hits more consistent, just things like that. So pretty straightforward, good clean list. Uh, wouldn't be too different from how I might run Stormcast if I happen to have Ballista laying around. Um, it was Duality of Death. There are 2 battle plans in Age of Sigmar that Legion of Nagash in particular is very, very good at. They are Places of Arcane Power and Duality of Death. And I brought my fun story here. I walk up to the table, this is round 2, and he sees me holding Nagash out, and if you followed me or my content for any time, or some of my other friends' content that I happen upon, you'll know that my take on Nagash for one whole year was I fucking love playing him, but I hated walking up to a table holding him, and then people were just like sad that I had Nagash again. Like they'd just be like sad. It was different because like I think a lot of people even like 8 months ago had finally gotten over their hate unless they were on Facebook, and then they're just like idiots on Facebook being wrong about things. He was just like, oh, Nagash, I already know what list I'm playing. And he puts it like face down, and I'm like, you sure you don't want to see both my lists, dude? He's like, oh no, man, it doesn't matter. I'm like, okay. Well, in any case, I'm using this list. And so, like, I put down my Death March list, which does not, in fact, run Nagash. It's a Vlazda with Ethereal Amulet, and and like a 20 block of Black Knights, and uh, it's just cancer for against shooting. So he's like, that is not what I was expecting, but let's go. And I kind of knew I went on a deployment because it's a 3-drop list in Death. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is if you have shooting, you're going to shoot Nagash off the table. You can do that. And honestly, if you have a good volume of shots, you can shoot a Vlazda off the table too. Uh, Anthony did end up killing my Vlazda over the course of the game. He finished it off in like two or three turns of shooting. So he did die. But like the damage had been done. You know, I got my money already. So yeah, I mean I win deployment. I go first. I turtle up on all of the things. I actually pull a move where I get the double pinions. So like the locus of power goes off. I straight roll the 9 on my Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. So he's got the plus 10-inch move. He's 24-inch move. He's already pushed up to the he's already pushed up to the red line as I call it. He lands outside of 3 inches. Now, Anthony hadn't fully backlined because he had to leave he left a little gap behind his judicators just in case he wanted his his ballista to come down on that side of the table. That is not what happened. What's up, Meth? The doctor is in the house. Doctor? Doctor? Well, welcome to the stream. Yeah, so he left a little gap. I'm like, okay, this is where the ballista might come down. And then so I put the dragon just outside of 3 for the 3-inch charge, and within 9 of one of my grave sites, so that I can pull up the 30 grave guard I stashed in the grave site. On the other side, in the other kill box, I have my 20 black knights and a white king just run onto the other point and just kind of fan out and stand, and like basically go, here's 40 wounds, good luck. Like, um, and so I blow up everything on that side of the table except for except for the Relictor, the teleport man. So I blow up everything on that side of the table, and he basically audibly says, "Well, that changes that," because I knew that's where he was going to put his ballista. And so he ends up having to put his ballista off to the other side. So in Black Knight threat zone, gets a turn of shooting onto the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. The Vampire Lord ends up getting into his ballista, kills 2 of them, 1.5 of them, something like that. Ends up dead. Uh, Black Knights do Black Knight stuff, and he basically at some point in time, I didn't, and again, I'm fairly certain I won on deployment. But I hadn't like yet done the math yet to see if he could catch up if he like completely like took the stuff off. The 30 I had 50 models on my sort of initial point off to the right, away from any of his threats. And then I had the 20 Black Knights on the other one. So you could conceivably have picked up that one, but that's one of the snowball missions, so you gain more points for the consecutive turns you have it. Like, he's not catching up. But I hadn't done the math yet, and he had, and he's like, oh, I knew you already beat me on deployment. I just wanted to kill that asshole. So he just really wanted to kill my dragon. And that's the kind of game we had. Like, I sort of like checked out tactically, saving some brain power. Apparently it's a technique that some chess players and Magic players employ. Just found out today talking to Halo. I just do it unintentionally. So I checked out the game tactically, and I just had a conversation. Rolled dice, had fun. It was the highest energy game I had all weekend. My second favorite game all weekend. Sorry, you were narrowly beat out by Ty Anthony. The whole situation around the Ty matchup, though, like it's unfair. It's an unfair comparison. Just because Ty and I stayed up drinking till 2:30 a.m. The night before, so of course we'd be opponents in the morning. And that game was not high energy. It was the opposite of high energy. We played in slow motion, but that was fun. So yeah, Duality to Death. I'm 1-1 now, and then I go into round 3, Total Conquest, against a gentleman named Bradley from Huntsville, Alabama. Really friendly guy. He was at the table. He had a brown ale. So I said, "Oh, do you like beer?" here's some illegal beer from Wisconsin. So I served him some spotted cow I brought with me, and we played a really cordial game. But I have the belief that rounds 3 and 5 are your two toughest rounds in Age of Sigmar, kind of regardless of what tables you're on. Round 3, because however your day 1 has gone, your round 3 tends to be the difference between do you have a shot tomorrow or don't you, right? Um, and so those games can get chippy. And near the end of the game, I wouldn't say it got chippy, but it got like you know, time was called in the round. 15 minutes remaining, and it was the top of 4 on his turn. So then I still have my bottom of 4 to go. He takes his top of 4. I'm still up 2 points on him in total conquest. Um, I have 2 points completely secured. He's not going to take them from me. 20 Black Knights. I'd already bodied. I suppose I should rewind a little bit. I chose Death March, and I did the thing that cavalry armies usually do to me, which is I threw 20 Black Knights into his backline and pinned him there for 3 turns. He was just stuck, essentially until they get the retreat turn. I don't know when that is. Maybe Halo, are you there?
Mm-hmm.
When's the retreat charge turn for them?
For which one?
He was Dom Hain. He didn't flip the tides. When's the retreat charge turn? Is that 4?
Oh, that would be turn. So if he's dom,
Yeah.
I don't think that affects retreat and charge.
Unbelievable!
I'll look it up quick.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much for the follow there, Oliver. So yeah, round 3 equals might walk home. Yeah, round 3 equals might be walking home. Exactly. Yeah, so round 3 is turn 4. Yeah, turn 4. So yeah, turn 4 is where he finally got dislodged from combat, and he went and fucked around with my Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, who had.
Yeah, not to interrupt, but Dom Hain, I was right. It doesn't have anything to do with retreat and charge. It's combat phase reroll, hit rolls a 1 for
Monsters.
Akellion and the Marty units that made a charge move in the same turn.
Yeah.
So that's just always, whenever you charge, you roll once a hit.
Yeah.
And you can reroll failed wound rolls for Akellion units that target a monster.
Right. Yeah, he
In which case, retreat and charge is turn 4 for what is it? Ebtide, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, he that turn 4 is where he tried to do his like the big combo, and he came up 2 points short even with it. Because basically, like I said, turn 1 Death March, I outdrop him. I'm 3 drops, man. That felt great all weekend. Being 3 drops on death, I was just throwing my weight around in deployment. It was great. So I 20 Black Knights. I do. It's actually the Haywo special. He does it with. I learned it from watching him use his Stonehorns. He'll deploy on the right side of the map, fly up the side, crash into thing, blow it up. Then he just hooks a left and runs left along the back line. And I did exactly that with my Black Knights. Ran straight up, blew up. I don't even remember what he had standing in my way right there. It was dead. Maybe it was some like thralls or something. I blew him the hell up. They didn't even register. Like, it's kind of like when you're driving a car really fast and like there was a like speed limit sign, but you didn't even fucking see it because you were already flying. That's what happened. Like I just like ran over whatever the fuck it was, cap the point, and then they turned left and pin all of his eels in the back. So he had 2 units of 6. I kill basically 1 unit of 6, and the other unit of 6 is like kind of trapped until turn 4 when it jumps over. When it retreat charge jumps over and it goes to fight my Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, which I deployed on like sort of the left side of the table as bait by himself, but he didn't take it. So it was like, okay, cool. I see you were a man of refined tastes. So he didn't take the bait on turn 1. So I like the Vampire Lord actually ran into his Eternal Guard and blew those guys the hell up. Didn't kill them all. They actually managed to retreat away, and that's where things got dicey around turns 3 and turns 4. So anyway, time's called in the round. I'm 2 points up even before I begin to score my turn at the bottom of 4. And then he's like basically trying to like get me to like hurry through my turn so that we can go into turn 5. And that's where I kind of like I even like I sort of set down my tape measure because I'm about to measure out a retreat. He asked me a question about retreating because in Duality of Death, the round we had just played, so honest mistake. That one specifically states you can't capture on a retreat. Total Conquest makes no such stipulation, I believe. In any case, even if it does, my Black Knights already controlled the point because I had them stretched out. I had a little tail, of like 3 Black Knights. So I retreated them out of the combat with the one eel that was left from the 6-man unit that I had blown up, and the the one command unit that I didn't kill. Right, and so I was about to like retreat them back to just shore up the points with enough bodies to where he can't get within the 6 inches and capture it, just in case, right? So I'm about to do that, and like he begins to like argue with me about that, and so not argue, just like question, and so I have to explain. I'm like, look, this is how many points I'm up right now. Even if we go into 5, we roll for priority. The most I think you can realistically score is 2 points. So you tie me, and that's without assuming I get to go at the bottom of 5. I'm like, I think it's over, man. And he like, yeah, okay, so like so that's how turn 3 ends, and I get it. You get or how round 3 ends, day 1. So like I get it. You get in that like mode where you're like you're not really like thinking about what the opponent can do. You're just in a scramble to see what can I do to win right now, right? You're crunching what can I do to win right now, and he maybe just didn't account for like just how much of my army I had left. I don't even think he killed my Vlazda by that point. Like he might have killed it. The 6 eels might have actually killed it, but like that would be the only unit I would have lost in that whole game. Right, right, and so like don't start around, and that's kind of where like I'm just like I kind of like put my foot down a little bit, and I was just like I think I got this, like this is why. So um, I kind of came a little bit out of my usual like cordial, gregarious self and got a little bit like dad voicey with him, and I felt a little bad about it, but like it was late, whatever. I don't think he really thought anything of it. So I end the
Yeah, it
day.
turned out fine.
Yeah, it turned out fine. So I end the day 2-1. Um, like feeling pretty good. I'm max on my secondaries. I'm 2-1 max on my secondaries. I've gotten everything. And then go out to lunch, or I'm sorry, go out to dinner, come back, and I run into basically all of the guys from Milwaukee are where you would expect folks from Milwaukee to be, which is in the lobby at the bar drinking. And I stop and I talk to them, and Mark Ramchek, pretty much everyone's Warhammer dad, buys a couple rounds of beer. Ty buys a couple rounds of beer. So I'm drinking and feeling pretty great, and hanging out and just having great conversations. And then uh, I don't think like I didn't recognize whenever Nick left. Like I call it Batmaning. Like when you're drunk and just like one of your friends disappears, they just kind of Batman you. So I just wasn't aware, and I didn't think to like get a key card. And then it became like I'm having fun with these guys. I already don't have a key card. Whether I solve this exactly now or when we're done talking, it's the same problem. You know, is kind of how I thought of it. So I'm like, whatever. I'll just like keep talking, and then I'll go upstairs, knock, see if someone wakes up, knock lightly, see if someone wakes up. Someone's a light sleeper, someone's going to the bathroom, whatever. If no one answers, I'll send some messages. No one answers those, I'll go to the front desk and I'll talk. Yeah, I didn't get the text. Apparently, it was just like, yeah. Anyway, so I went down and like I talked to the front desk, and she just, even though I knew all the information, she just like would not give me a key. So it's time to sleep in the bathroom and hallway for me. I basically didn't sleep. I was up till 5:30 a.m. When I finally heard Brendan wake up in the hotel room. I knocked lightly. He opened the door, and then I went and slept under the computer table. So kind of a standard like when Andrew was 18 convention experience for me. Like really, that's like I had time travel back to like any like no brand con or geek con I'd ever been to. Like that was kind of like usually my experience, or like passing out in one of the anime viewing rooms, drinking fucking whiskey from a backpack. Like so, like this was not my first rodeo in that regard, but still it took its toll on me day 2. So day two I'm tired. I've slept like an hour, and I'm used to functioning on low sleep. I really am, but this is like lower still for me. And the real problem is that I didn't have then like the time to like metabolize the alcohol, which is like kind of a problem. So I was like sobering up the morning of still. So I did actually employ it, like I did actually use the hair of the dog technique that game against Ty, and I really did feel better. I've never had to do hair of the dog thing, despite how famously I've been known to drink. I've never done it. Usually the next day it's like get greasy hash browns and like be fucking good, you know. Fucking eat some just like buttery toast, and I'm great to go. Um, so yeah, so then it's round four, Places of Arcane Power, versus Ty. I'm really good on Places of Arcane Power. Um, but he's on IJ and he's got the four-wawing, teleporting Ard boys. I deploy poorly. The problem with Places of Arcane Power is that diagonal deployment, you don't have a ton of space to spread out uh, 80 skeletons, well, let alone 100, right? So I end up having to like bunch up, and I bunch up in such a manner to where he's able to tag everything with that unit of Ard boys when he teleports. He only has to make a 4-inch charge on the dice with all the bonuses they get after the teleport. Maybe it was a 5-inch charge. I think he had a plus four to charge. He has to be outside of 9. Yeah, he had to make a 5-inch charge after all the bonuses. He had a +4 total with all the tricks his army does. So it's like he has to make a 5-inch charge, and he doesn't have a command point to re-roll it. But he still strings out and tags my whole army and pins me in my deployment. Things are going as planned for him. I kill everything to the man. Like he even had like another unit of like Gorgruntas like running up in that process. And as I'm killing all his Ard boys in that like we grind a combat in his turn. I put more harm on him than he puts on me. Actually, I was kind of weirded out by that because he wad 4 times. Um and and my skeletons swing back and just he actually is like taking off orcs by like kind of like just by the fistful, and they're multi-wound models, so I was a little surprised. And then it's my turn. Nagash. The real problem is Nagash got pulled into combat, and this is where a better deployment. I think I pretty much win that game. Again, Places of Arcane Power is like Nagash is to lose. The only other army about as good as Places of Arcane Power in the game is like Marathi, and maybe arguably Fire Slayers, but I don't think that they can like necessarily like 2-1 you, or they cap 2 points and they just like hold quite as well as Marathi and Daughters can, or
It
Nagash.
entirely depends on if they can go first or not.
Yeah.
If like on Duality of Death, if Fire Slayers somehow manage to outdrop you, I'm not sure they can lose against actually anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm struggling. I think they just win.
Yeah.
Like in the whole game, possibly.
Yeah.
But they tend to be higher drops because you can't fit all the cool stuff, especially the heroes, into your battalion.
Right.
Which means the average person on a 4 drop or something, or a 4 or 5 drop has a like an honest chance of going first, and you pretty much have to.
Right. Yeah.
30 Hearthguard and 1 Rune Smiter can pop up on 1 point, and then the other 1,400 points of their entire army just goes left. And,
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. So they do a 2-1 strat, and they could even do the like one.
Yeah, but
one
their one is like able to withstand most of someone's army for most of the game.
Yeah.
So I think it's viable.
Well, that's Nagash and 40
against
skeletons.
Christian Weir when he did that to me at Midwest Meltdown. Now I understand him on Beast Class, so we're not like the most damaging army, but still left an impression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nagash
anyway,
plus
go on.
No, yeah, Nagash plus 40 skeletons kind of does the same thing. You actually like you put the skeletons in the gravesite. You put a gravesite on one of the points. You pinions Nagash onto the gravesite. Pull up the 40 skeletons around him in a circle, and with all your thanks for that
Twitch Prime.
Thanks for that Twitch Prime sub. Thanks for supporting the cause, Doctor. So like you can do that with Nagash, and with his debuffs, it's like the skeletons are unkillable. You know, regen plus debuffs mean the skeletons are like unkillable, and he with a portal he can Hand of Dust either of the other 2 points from the middle, which is the low key superpower of the list. So even Marathi, you just like thought be gone, like and just thought be gone or off a point. Now,
yeah, he has a can of Thought Begoner.
right. So the one problem this army does have, my current iteration of it, is usually the Bone Zone, which is what I affectionately call my army. And we'll circle back to this in the second half of the show. Um, the Bone Zone traditionally runs 3 heroes. It usually runs a White King, a Necromancer, and Nagash. The White King is often accompanied by 10 Black Knights. Uh, that's the David Griffin special. That's how I beat him. That's why I'm at his tournament. Um, that's what beat him at the tournament in Brew City. So like that's how I usually run it. And with that list, it's 20 wounds of Black Knights, usually on a 4-up save. Sometimes they're 5-up, sometimes they're 6-up. Usually a double death save because I always run the Asphyxia item, plus a White King for actually capping old places of arcane power. So he's in the middle, surrounded by 10 skeletons, and I just hold baby hold, right? I don't even have to like really stick my neck out on that. And then Nagash plus 40 skeletons, and then a Necromancer plus 40 skeletons, just running interference. I'm really strong on that plan. I don't think I lost it for all of GHB 2018. Checking the tape. Yep, haven't lost it all of GHB 2018. Even practice it against Sam because I kind of insisted on it against Sylvaneth, and I beat him. But that had like a caveat to it. There was a big piece of terrain that really stopped him from doing what he wanted to do, and he was inexperienced. If we play that same matchup again, I think he wins. Like
with new Sylv?
No, not new
It's a
Sylv. No.
new,
I mean,
it's a brand new.
no, I mean specifically that matchup. If we played that
okay.
again now with how many more reps he's got in there on a real table instead of just my kitchen table, I think he beats me. But still. Anyway, so we what wasn't a kitchen table? It was one of those cool collapsible gaming tables. So we were actually of the proper size. Yeah. So that place of arcade power. Anyway, Ty does what Ty is supposed to do. He pins me my deployment, and he manages to tag Nagash in there because I just simply we call it a bad deployment, but like it's hard to not deploy that way on that battle plan because what I should have done is Nagash should have been up higher, but I wanted him directly across from the middle objective. And if that was the case, I should have just put my skeletons way the hell off to the side. Like completely almost irrelevant to the game with their positioning, but then have them pincer up into one of them. Just take him a couple turns, but anyway. In any case, he charges me, pins me for the turn he needs to. I kill everything. And the funniest part of it all is he has Gorg Gruntas running up to like support and pin me an additional turn. And Nagash, like without looking away from murdering all of the like orcs in front of him, just like goes like this and points his finger off to the right and full to deads a unit of Gorg Gruntas that are running up to support in the spell phase. That was great. So this is where coming back to the beginning part of the rant cast tonight. I talked about Purple Sun in the list. Purple Sun did fucking work all weekend. I used it every time I cast it. I was fucking giddy inside. It was like I picked up a literal hand grenade and just threw it onto the table and blew shit up. It was great. It is probably me at my most Timmy resolving that because I resolved it and fucking just pulled models off. No saves, no fucking around. I roll the 6, it's fucking gone. It is awesome. I can't wait to find a list that's a little bit better than the Nagash list I was running, to throw that fucker into Fire Slayers over and over and over again, and watch them kind of complain about how many points per model are taken off when I slay them versus other things. So it was great. It was great against Slaanesh as well, which was unexpectedly good. I didn't expect it to be good at Slaanesh, but it actually was. And 2d6 mortal wounds against a hero model, uh, surprisingly good. And it turns out there's a lot of armies that have like Death Star formations, a lot more than maybe there want to be right now. But a lot of things are running 2 models next to each other, 3 models, 2 support heroes. You know, they're running a lot of support heroes plus a unit of stuff. You're hitting 3 or 4 things with it every time you angle it. It's only 15-inch threat, but it's usually enough to hit. I was hitting on average 3 units with it. Usually a hero and like 2 units, or like 2 heroes and like a proper unit. So it was nice, and you only need to lightly tag it. So you just like Tokyo drift that shit, go slightly this way, that way. It was a lot of fun all weekend. So yeah, I ended up losing that game. He basically goes up 2 points early on me. I hand to dust his Maw Crusher off the middle point again while Nagash is locked in combat. It's like it was the most Nagashian thing ever. He's just like hanging out, just like fighting with his katana, and he's just like pew, and the Maw Crusher just gone. It is dust. It was so good. So I had a lot of fun that game. Again, Ty and I were kind of playing in slow motion, so we wouldn't have gone all the way through all of our turns. You know, I could go back and figure it out. I need to figure out how many wounds are on a hard boy. I think they're just 2 wounds per. And then
Hard boys have 2, yeah.
yeah, 2 wounds
2 and 4
per.
up.
Yeah, so 2 wounds per, and then how much on a Gorgrunta? 5?
Yeah.
5?
Although the boss Gorgrunta sometimes has 7, depending on what battalion they're in.
Okay, so I think I killed 6 Ard boys with it. So 12 wounds there. And then I killed 3 or 4 Gorgrunta with it. Let's round down. Go conservative whenever you have to guess, right? So we'll go with 3, so 15 there. So in that game alone, I killed a lot. Over 20. Perfect. And then against Slanesh, I inflicted about 27 wounds worth of damage with 1 spell, getting to move it twice, only twice. For 50.
Yeah, on paper you think like, oh man, this thing has a high chance of blowing back. No, like the ranges on it, you launch that thing.
Oh no, it just
like,
fucking goes.
You go deep. It's like a shotgun in the footballs. Was that the correct reference?
Hail Mary maybe.
Oh yeah, probably.
Or a shotgun pass.
My knowledge of football tactics is from NFL Blitz '99 and no later.
Yeah, so 27 wounds with 1 50-point spell. Not bad, not bad. Again, this was the list science weekend for me. My main agenda was to try to crank up my competitive spirit just a little bit, because I know I have certain flaws that hold me back from being as competitive as I could be. The main one being I have a certain type of player who is my kryptonite, and like I wasn't gonna take shit from that type of player. I didn't run into that archetype of player this weekend though. Although the time and round thing did come up from Midwest Meltdown, and I didn't let that get the better of me this time. So, consider that a success, and my list science was a success. Nagash, the Nagash list specifically, Nagash plus 100 needs to go back in the oven. But the things I wanted to know, which is how good is it against Slanesh in terms of like blocking its depravity farm? Very good. It is an A in that category. And then how good is Purple Sun? Purple Sun is great. So both of those things were good. But like the units need to be tooled around. You run chain rasps, you don't run as many skeletons, so on and so forth. Yeah, but like when I threw it at 1 wound models, I killed 9 Daemonettes and put 4 wounds on a Keeper of Secrets when I cast it against Isaiah. So like, 13 wounds. Like, still a pretty solid return on investment for. I mean, even if you think of it as just casting a spell, right? You're usually doing a D3 mortals, right? So like that was pretty good. Oh yeah, as a filthy Slanesh player, like you hate my 1 wound skeletons, and then like a necromancer you can never get to because he's at the center of a giant blob of skeletons, and then a supreme lord of the undead who hand of dusts your keeper off the table, and you don't get depravity for it because it was slain. It didn't take any wounds. So all that's pretty metal. Yeah, so like that was cool. I end up losing. I'm behind on points, and we're talking through it. And we ended a little bit early. Like he won a priority roll, which meant he was about to score more. And if I had won the priority roll, I could have disrupted him from. Again, I'm still behind, but it's like if I win it, I see if we keep playing, and if I don't, we're getting to where like we're both, we've been in the shit. Like so, we're just like we talk it through, and like we talk through all the turns after that. I'm like I have to have a lot go my way to win this, you know, and I don't think it, and just statistically, I don't think it will. If I were in your basement, I would totally play through this whole game, and it would be just a fucking slobber knocker up till the end. But all things considered, how late we were up last night, I'd rather just catch lunch early, and you know, I'd rather just catch lunch early and you win, dude. Like, good job. And then, but like, keep in mind, probably would have tabled him if that game went the distance. I did make an 11-inch charge on him, which felt great, and I watched like 7 Grimghast Reaper or 7 Graveguard like almost kill an entire unit of Graveguard by themselves, or almost kill a whole unit of Gorgruntas by themselves. So that was kind of a highlight of the game. That and Nagash being in combat and just like doing doing the fucking like Bono thing from South Park, just yeah yeah yeah, like just pointing as he's walking and stuff is just exploding. Like, so that was a lot of fun. And then so then we go to round 5. It's knife to the heart against a guy named Jeff. He is on Stormcast, my second Stormcast of the tournament. And I pretty much say in so many words, walking up to the table, I had a really long night. I was locked out in my room, so this game's gonna go fast one way or another. And I go for the big alpha on knife to the heart. And I want you to know that I would have played this strategy I played. Yeah. I would have done this this strategy every time. Basically, I put the 20 Blackguard in an arrowhead formation. It was 5 games. Um, I put my Black Knights in an arrowhead formation at the 1 point, and I death marched them 4 inches. I moved them 12 inches, and then I made an 11-inch charge on his army that was turtled up. He had Tempesters. He had a unit of 6 Tempesters. He had the full command squad contingent, complete with a Castellant, Knight Azeros. I don't think he had a Relictor, actually. He had some other derpy foot hero. Um, Relictor you usually can tell because it has the huge staff, right? And I basically charged it in such a manner to where I could wrap my Black Knights. I got the full combo off on my Black Knights, mind you. They had the Van Hells, Dance Macabre, so they're piling in twice. They have the Lord of Bones buff from the White King, so they all have an extra attack per model. And the way I ended up fighting is I managed to get my so I deployed them in the arrowhead at one point of the battle, and then Vlazda is up at the other point of the battle, and I outdrop him. And he puts a bunch of stuff in the sky, and I leave this I draw a Fibonacci sequence with my 30 skeletons and my Necromancer on my point, so that like he has to like crash into each one. But I have 30 Graveguard in the grave site, and I have my Necromancer with a grave site a little bit behind him. So like I've got an extra 9-inch buffer. I've got an extra buffer on the back end to give myself extra space there. So if he drops down, he has to drop down further on the back end because that's where my outer ring of skeletons is. And then I have like 2 sort of inner circles of rings that like sort of overlap, like like this on the other side. So I have this big outer ring here, and I have these two little rings, these concentric sort of like semicircles, right? And this perfect space for 30 Graveguard to pop up and countercharge him when he drops down. So I bait him perfectly. And the Black Knight's fully buffed up. The Vlazda crashes into the one side of his home base, using his command ability to reroll his attacks. I had the Triumph for this. I rolled the 1, so I got the Triumph to reroll attacks. So the Black Knights +1 attack per from Lord of Bones, rerolling attacks, piling in twice, and then they get the Lord of Nagashazar because the way I wrap them into his home base, they're within 12 inches of Vlazda. So I charge them up, and I half wrap them to where they get through some of his Tempester or his the shooty ones. Tempesters. Yeah, Fulminators are the charging ones. Tempesters. So they half wrap around and into his and they half wrap around and into his command squad. Vlazda smashes pretty much he kind of has to smash into the no, I saved a CP in case I failed the charge. A 7-inch charge would have bounced me straight into the Tempesters. I needed a decent charge to where I could wrap with my double pylon to get at that meaty chunk in the middle. I had to save the 1 CP for that. So I was saving the CP to hedge the bet. So it still ended up being like with the amount of bodies I got in, around 60 attacks per pile-in. The Vlazda rerolling hits, the Black Knights with +2 attacks piling in twice rerolling hits don't kill. Not only do they not kill a single model, they don't put a single wound on anything. Not even his derpy fucking Griffhound. And so I'm just like, yep. So now I don't need to win combat. I can actually just continue to bring in 20 Black Knights and kind of wrap up around, and as soon as I capture the point, I can still win, right? And down on the bottom side where he does his like alpha drop, he's got a bunch of alpha shooty men. Yeah, I should have just been like people should have had to be out there with like a fucking with a fucking cheese, like with cheesecloth catching all the debris from that combat. It was fucking embarrassing. Just a fucking powder. Um, and then off on the side, he drops down, and like I'm not even worried about that. He kills like 2 skeletons, fails to wound the necromancer with all of his shooting, and then he's just got like all of his armies on the table now. I'm like, okay, so next turn I'm gonna pull up Graveguard. They're gonna blow all your shit off the table. And here's the thing, if I like I'm even rewinding it. If I had kept playing that game, I think I still win anyway. But like watching the Black Knights blow up, and then when my Vlasta went down, and this is something that happened. This is a mentality of death players. Not every army has this problem where like when you kill our general, we lose a lot of our abilities. Okay, um, like so like I lost my general. I still have my White King, and I'm just like looking at it, and I'm just like, okay, I put my grave sites here, so like I should be regenerating Black Knights. And like if I play the long game, my Graveguard go the distance, like on a unit of Paladors that drop down, a unit of hammer throwing like idiots, and like a unit of Vindicators, or no, it was actual Liberators. Actual fucking Liberators. Um I probably could have won, but like I don't want to play for the minor on that map, and it clearly meant more to him than me. Like I'm not gonna get like if I go 3-2, I don't win anything versus going 2-3 at that point, you know. But like it's clear to me that this guy going home that weekend, being able to say he had a winning record was a very important. And like I had already won the weekend because I got my list science in. Again, if I play that same matchup 10 times, I do exactly what I just did to him there. Thank you. Not safe for work. Oh no. Um I did if I play that battle plan against that army 10 times, like just the whole thing, and we run the numbers like a simulation, I'd still play it that way. Um so it's like so I just like am like, you know what, dude, that like I'm like I'm like how badly do you want to keep rolling dice, you know? And he's like and I'm like, okay, so he doesn't want to keep rolling dice. He wants me to hand him. I'm like, okay, man. You know what? I think you got this. Just like do me a favor. This idiot right here is just gonna run away from you the rest of the game, so I can get my secondary. He's like, okay. I'm like, good game, dude. like, like this idiot's just gonna run behind a rock and hide. All right. So, so that's how my tournament my tournament weekend ended. 2-3, not my best showing, but like a phantom 3-2, I think. Uh, and got all the information I needed for my Black Knight or for Death March. Got all the information I needed for Nagash. Nagash needs to go back in the oven. It's not done yet. Uh, Death March is fucking legit. It won 2 of 3 of its games, whereas Nagash lost both of its games. I outdeployed people all the time. 20 Black Knights were just a nightmare for everything they fought. There wasn't a thing in the game that was just like happy to see them, you know? Like even the eels were just like, ugh, fuck. Right, right. And so,
Well, the Stormcast weren't happy to see them until it happened, and then they were like, "Oh, okay."
oh
So
yeah,
that's all.
yeah. I guess you somehow managed to whip with 120 threes over threes re-rolling hits, damage to attacks. All right, motherfucker. My horses forced more saves than the actual riders. Put it that way. My fucking 5x4 horses forced more saves. Ugh. Like I just want to fucking vomit blood. And they don't benefit. They didn't benefit from the Lord of Nagash Azar, so they were only +1 attack. Um, but yeah, so that was I mean, it was an unfortunate end, but it was like I've got all the data I need. And that was pretty much the tournament. Like big takeaways are um really kind of a lot of the stuff going around. A great man told me not to complain about dice. Oh, I'm not complaining about them. Bad dice happen to everybody. And again, you can't learn a lesson from bad dice. That the point of what I'm saying about bad dice is like, don't look at your bad dice. Look at the strategy you use. What decisions would you change? Um, and I look at that matchup. Get the Black Knights more around to his command squad. Maybe split tax a little better, but like same strat. Like I do the same thing because again, even if I whiff my attacks, I should still be able to like just attrition him out. I guess slightly better gravesite placement. Um, so like not mad at the dice, but I'm gonna point it out. You can learn to roll sixes. It's true, you can. So like yeah, it was fine. Underwhelming end, but I felt out of it all day. So I wasn't fighting too hard on day two, but day one I was for one day I was a fucking champion. um, so I wanted to point this out. This is a single leaf of paper. After we tore off the back sheets for our tournament pack, this is what we have left. One clean, crisp sheet of paper. David Griffin's pack, and this is where I got to commend his pack. Now I never read the tournament pack because I don't do that. I feel it like weakens you for the tournament. Uh, so I can't comment on that much. I skimmed it. But like the actual tournament pack itself, it's just really clean, really concise. The scoring sheet was super straightforward. The scoring sheet actually had on it what the realm feature was, what the spell was, and so on and so forth. Just right on there, and it had the rule written out, and then you had your scoring block in the middle. So it was just really clean tournament pack. You're left over with one extra sheet of paper at the end with the schedule and your tournament rounds and stuff, your scenarios. Talks about how to use the schemes, talks about scoring, talks about sports. Like, boom, straightforward. Um, really, really good pack. Would I change some stuff if I ran it my way? Sure, fine, whatever. But like, if he changed nothing about his pack, just like updated his schemes and terrain and whatever for the future, would I go again? Absolutely, 100%. It was a blast. It was a great weekend. It has a black eye on it. The Saturday night after I got done talking to people wasn't the greatest, but like, I wouldn't if it was like Andrew, if you go to bed and miss out on the conversation with Ty, Bryce, and Tom, and to an extent the Ram chicks beforehand, like it's like make your decision. Do you get to talk to them or do you get to sleep that night? I would choose to talk to them again anyway. Knowing that I made it through and what I went through, like I'd talk to them again anyway. So, not even mad about it really. Like it sucked in the moment, but I'm over it. The other thing I need to comment on is Tyler Emerson and Austin Fletcher. Uh, Friday when we got there, Austin Fletcher like walked up to me and he commended me on like just my Twitter game. I don't think I have a particularly strong Twitter game, but like to know that it was meaningful to like him, and he's like, man, I love that you're always engaging and you're always like talking to different people at different parts of the community and stuff. And I'm like, I have some in between time between tickets at work, so you're welcome. But then Tyler Emerson from Scrubby and Wells, like he basically he said he watched some of my videos, some of these rantcasts, and he liked how I was open about talking about mental health. And I thought I was fucking annoying people with it, but like, here's my take on that. The people I'm probably annoying with it maybe have their shit together, and you know, good for you. It's not for you. It's for the other people who do kind of struggle with some shit. And if you struggle with some shit, I'm there with you. I feel you. I'm pretty open about my stuff because I spent years hiding it and it wasn't helping me anymore. At least if people know that I'm feeling down that day, if I come off like a little bit of an asshole, I save some face. Like at the very least, I don't think I'm gonna solve my fucking mental health problems by saying had a shit day today. You know, thought about some really heinous shit. Um, but I do think that if I'm open about it, it's better than not. And so it meant a lot that it was. And that's the thing is like the Venn diagram of people with mental health issues and wargamers is pretty close to a goddamn circle. You're dealing with like with veterans and uh people from essentially a like marginalized like outcast group, nerds. Like people have shit. And whilst my shit may not be the same shit you have, I am familiar with what it feels like to have some. And so I'm sympathetic. Um, so yeah, some people on the spectrum, yeah, exactly. Actually, they've actually done studies on tabletop and people on the spectrum. They really have, and how it helps them, uh, like form connections that are like really difficult for them to form otherwise between like in social circles. Like D&D in particular has had a lot of studies done on it with like empathy and like people on the spectrum, and like there's a lot of positive stuff coming from like people playing D&D, and I think it extends to tabletop too because whilst there's a competitive element, a lot of times there's usually a cooperative element to board games. Um, you have to like set up the table, even if it's just like Monopoly. You know, you got to like talk to each other, and I'm gonna buy Boardwalk from you, and so on and so forth, right? So I just kind of wanted to comment on that before moving on to the fun stuff for tonight's thing. Which is the best thing to come from the weekend, though. The truly best thing. You know, great conversations with people, good pack, good tournament. Um, you know, Honest Wargamer was there, Scribble and Rob, which was a real incentive to go. I'm upset that I didn't get to talk to them nearly as much as I wanted to. I didn't get to talk to Jacob Barry as much as I wanted to because he's just one of those guys who gives a lot of shit and takes a lot of shit. And so he's just like a fucking if you're a troll like me, he is just one of the greatest people to just talk shit to. And I'm sure the feeling's mutual. so so like there's a little bit of that like I didn't get to have dinner with Jacob Barry and Joe Pagano and stuff, and I thought that would have been cool. But apart from like a couple of things like that, you know, the truly best thing to come from the weekend though was the Tithe of Blood Part 3 video. I'm not gonna get into like collusion and stuff. That's not my that that's never been my brand, man. Um, so like uh the I don't, you know what? We're gonna switch cameras here for a second. I'll pull up some shit real quick. So Joe, did you see the
This is no longer a rant. This is a hype.
yeah, this not we have switched into pure hype man mode. So this is no longer a rant. We're in part 2. If I had catchy ass music, there'd be a black screen and the music would be playing right now. What was I gonna do? Oh yeah, not blood tithe. I want to get all this fucking get this art into my body. Hang on a second. Sorry about this. Meet the fuck off. Everyone who says it's the Tomb Kings. He says in the video, my masters brought me back and had been building me an army. Setcher would never refer to fucking Nagash as his master. Like, fuck you. Now I'm mad again. I wasn't mad. Now I'm mad again. Switching back to RantCam. BRB switching back to RantCam. Fucking, it's like I'm tired of the trolling. Like, ooh, it's Tomb Kings. When are Tomb Kings coming back? Like, maybe you can feel happy that they're spiritually Tomb Kings, you know, but like I want new death shit, not old recycled shit. I'm sorry. Like maybe you want to live in a land of fucking re-releases and no new kits, but like I don't. I want new stuff. I want shit like, I don't know, heavy fucking skeleton cavalry riding rhinos and griff chargers that are skeletons and shit. Where was I? Oh, I was looking for the Mortark, but like this page sucks. Maybe I'll go to one of Luke Stone's Facebook groups here, because they tend to have pictures. What I'm getting from these clearly like Persian and Asian like images is and a stark last of a stark like lack of pyramids is, you know, I'm getting Tomb Kings here. Really getting a Tomb Kings vibe because I'm fucking dense and witless. Like, go away. Nobody likes you Tomb Kings players except for Tristan Gray. Like, again, like my sympathies to you, everybody. I want you to have the things you love in the game you love. I really do. But like, I just don't be an idiot about it, please. Let's get some new shit first, huh? All right. So like, here we go. So here's our Mortark. Um, I don't know his name yet. Conceivably, this is the Mortark. They also have the dude in the sarcophagus with the candles. Could be the leader man. But this is fucking awesome. Um, I'm not certain what about this screams Tomb Kings to you, because I get like a rather distinctly Persian vibe, and this man right here is pure goddamn samurai. Like, look at this shit. Like, he's even got the hand on the hilt of the katana. Like, this is awesome. Like, my theme's already done for me. I'm so happy. The Necrosphinx is cool. Yeah, where's the Necrosphinx? Potentially, yeah, like potentially Mongolian. Like, I think it's like pseudo Asian, pseudo Middle Eastern. I think there's, again, I do get like a really distinct like Persian vibe. Like, this guy could be like Xerxes, and he could be on like a fucking platform being carried aloft by skeletons and shit. Um, I am of the mind that like they're like bone constructs, with like souls bound to them. Like, Nagash figured out a way to do Stormcast Eternals himself type thing. So like that's kind of like what I think is going on. Not necessarily the whole army, but like, look to the left. What's the shadow form? This up here. Oh, the bird here. Yeah, like bone golems would be sweet. I'd love some bone giants and stuff. But like, we do have like catapults kind of confirmed. Yeah, here's the fucking sarcophagus Candleman. And the sarcophagus doesn't exactly, I don't know, the heavy cavalry. Um, and then right here we've got like what looks like a griff charger mount. So
I
like,
like Sarcophagus Candleman.
sarcophagus Candleman. Can you imagine what that model will be like?
Distant cousin to Reikenor,
Yeah,
except his candles are on his back.
yeah. I think sarcophagus Candleman is sweet. Probably the badass spellcaster, right? We're gonna be on maybe some unique mechanics. Um, Catapults, cavalry are super Mongolian. And these don't have the Tomb King. This is not the Tomb King Screaming Skull catapult. Spiritually, sure, you've got it. So like, if you're looking for a spiritual successor to Tomb Kings, you might have it, right? Because you've got your catapults, you might have some archers, you might have some bone giants and stuff like that. You might have some of that stuff.
Look at that guy's sword right there. That's to me that's pretty similar to Mortark swords, like the one-handed ones.
Morghast.
Yeah, Morghast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I saw another photo where like someone zoomed in on the icon on the Mortark's armor somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but they're like, and then they zoomed in on that same icon Morghast. Now, if you remember Morghast lore,
on this guy's shield, it's very similar.
yeah. So if you recall, the Morghast lore is essentially someone sends angels to assassinate Nagash, and Nagash, because he's basically Hades and he loves poetic punishments, kills them all and turns them into his royal guard. So maybe these are like the advanced version of Morghasts. Like maybe we're getting a proper Morghast like Grand Host army. Actually, maybe we're getting Grand Host version 2.0, like as instead of like, because Legion of Nagash is like a whole Grand Allegiance as like an army, and they're just like broken up. So maybe we're finally getting like, no, really, here's Nagash's personal army, right? That would be sweet. I'm all for that. I'm going with I think a lot of these guys are like bone constructs with armor made of like bone that's been sculpted and chiseled and stuff like that. And then on the flip side, you have like, their skeleton legions. Uh, they got the green glow all about them, which is, I mean, to me, that's Shang Tsung soul stuff. I already paint all my energy on my skeletons already painted green. So like, it's like Games Workshop knew specifically that that I wanted this army, and they made all the choices I wanted. They gave me a samurai. They gave me heavy cavalry. If you listen to the first half of this, I talked all about Black Knights and how fucking sweet they are. They just moved Black Knights across the checkerboard and said "King me." Now I get heavy cavalry version of Black Knights. Awesome. I've always been a proponent for Black Knights. My big take back in Warhammer Fantasy was that I wanted uh like more elite skeletons, and so I think we're getting some version of that. See, this doesn't speak Egyptian to me either. That's more Middle Eastern, or it could be like Tibetan, which would lend it towards Mongolian again. Yeah. Oh, interesting. In the lore, there are 9 Mortarks and 9 Stormcast chambers. I think what's going on is Nagash is opening up one of his own chambers. Like, it's been said he's been doing some soul science and he's very pissed at like uh Sigmar himself. So I think he's revealing his take on the Stormcast Eternals. I think we're getting like pseudo elite skeleton construct army. Um, Things I'm hoping for. Those fucking Griff Charger and Rhino. I want heavy cavalry. I want the like Corn Juggernaut basis on skeleton cavalry. Boy, I want that so badly. You have no idea. I'd love to see, like, for the Mortark, I'd love to see like, I'm hoping he's like an Eidolon of like an Eidolon in IDK, where he is just like a really big like foot guy, like foot hero. Maybe he's like surfing a tide of bones. Like the bones are up on her and he's just like held aloft on it, or standing on the shoulder of a bone giant. Just spitballing some ideas here for Games Workshop if they haven't fully gone to print yet. They have. Or skeleton like Persian elephant. Uh,
I
or
want to see more skeletal, non-human horses.
Yes.
Like it's horses and humans. I want to see like big like ogre skeletons and decaying storm fiend zombies and like giants that are made out of like 25 zombies, stitched together.
Oh,
Like I want to
yeah.
see like big like weird undead stuff, like a Draco Lich and stuff. Like that'd be sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
To diversify it and bring in some of the stuff from AOS itself, just for a more diverse undead pool. He's been killing a lot of different races for a while now.
Yes. Grot skeletons. Well, you have like the Mortark will be on like the Xerxes platform, and he'll have like Grot skeletons like feeding him grapes and like giving him orange juice. Like he's gonna go full D2 like Lord of Destruction Necromancer, where like he doesn't even like lift a hand to like eat grapes. They're like handed to him by a skeleton. There was also that story. Wasn't there like a story in one of the books like about the time that an Alfrostun or something attacked Nagash's castles?
No, I can't remember what big city it was, but it was an allied city. Like Stormcast protecting Free Guild. Specifically, I believe it was Free Guild, Stormcast, and possibly Dwarves.
Okay.
They had this big metropolis. And this a particular Frost Lord was like almost not mind controlled. What is it? Pretty much like enchanted with visions of Nagash, and his mind was taken over. And he sent his whole Alpha Stun against this city that they couldn't possibly defeat, but they could fuck it up. And so they blasted into everything, and they killed a whole bunch of people. But it was a particular free guild Stormcast pairing that just had like millions of cannons and a whole bunch of ranged, and they finally killed them all. They took heavy losses. It was horrible, but they finally killed them. And then Nagash's grand design unfurled itself and resurrected the entire Alpha Stun from the dead, and then had them attack again. And the Stormcast Celestin talking to the Free Guild General on the parapets was just like, well, it's actually hopeless. And they just like sat down and just waited for the wave of undead Stonehorns and shit to wash over them, because they like just barely won, and then it was over.
Dude,
Now, it was kind of annoying that the only story ever written about my army, we completely jobbed for both death and order. But we fucking got that city.
But we got the city. Yeah. See, like, so maybe my Mortark could be on a Stonehorn, huh? Like, because they're skeleton Stonehorns, right? So their skeleton is stone. That's why they're called Stonehorns. So what if it has like none of the flesh, and it's just this like fucking stone skeleton thing? And then because I get awesome stone skeleton like new.
Yeah, you get real stone skeleton, and then we get the.
But no, but then they have to update your rule to make it good, and so like in the long run, we both win, huh? So like he could be on a fucking.
I'm used to other people using my Stonehorns. As long as I get the good rules, we're good.
Yeah, so like I get a skeleton Stonehorn that like my Mortark's riding, but I like to see him as a foot hero or on like a platform. I think a platform would be sick, where he's like on like this. Like, this man wants to duel you IRL, you know? Like, this is a posture that says, fight me IRL, you won't. That is what this posture says. And, I'm sorry, but this is me at my most fanboy. When Night Hunt came out, I was like, cool, spooky ghosts. You know, it's nice to have some new tools for the toolbox, but, like, it wasn't like I was excited. Not like this. You know, I was happy to be playing Age of Sigmar already, but I was just like coming back to the army I'd left in Warhammer Fantasy Battle after like a long hiatus. You know, I came back to Nagash, I came back to Necromancers, came back to like vampires on dragons. Like I came back to all that stuff. Even like what used to be called Mounted Whites were Black Knights, which was like the main how I played the army. Like, so I just came back to all of like the stuff that I had been playing before, with some updated models, but even then, those were outdated by new Age of Sigmar stuff, like standards. So I'm happy to see like a whole new army that I'm actually interested in for the faction I love. I want brand new, like I want these guys to be new guys. Like they mentioned that like, oh, it's an old ally of Nagash's, and like, I mean, the Age of Myth was like thousands of years ago. It could be an old ally from the Age of Myth. It doesn't need to be from the world that was. Nagash barely remembers the world that was. Like in a lot of like the stories and stuff. Like he barely has a recollection of it. He's been like, he himself has like remade himself so many times, and his patience and machinations are so far reaching. It would be like remembering the time you fell off your skateboard. Like he doesn't even whatever. So like I'm super pumped. I've got a couple ideas on where they might go with it, but I think we're gonna see a new resource system. Some sort of bone tithe, or a tithe of bones, perhaps, like a resource, and that might be used for our summoning. Which would be cool. Like used for our summoning and our regen. That would be neat. Or we're gonna get the full Legion of Nagash complement of abilities, and then we might get the Night Hunt problem, where their stuff is better in Legions of Nagash. But if that happens, then I'm happy, because I have a future where I can run both Nagash and my heavy skeletons, skeleton cavalry, and this fucking badass right here with his fucking cape and posture, like all in the same army, and I'm just like, okay, like I'm not even mad. So, Like, I feel bad for you guys, but no, I'm hoping we're gonna see some new Allegiance abilities. It's a new book, so it's probably gonna have like activation shenanigans. Maybe our heavy cavalry activates off the charge. You know, they get to fight. Uh, you know, always strike first, like a off the charge or something. And somebody said in chat they'd like to see heavy cavalry like sort of be updated and good. Um, so like, um, I'd like to see that too. And judging from what the guy writing Free Cities said, he said he wanted to reimagine cavalry. Like that was his like design philosophy going into that book. So he might be working in like parallel to whoever's designing, or maybe he had some designer commentary on the new uh Tithe of Bones army. So like it's possible that whatever his belief in cavalry is, we get to see over here. Which would be nice. And maybe that means like we have like some modular units where you have a Griff Charger skeleton rider guy in it with a rhino guy, and you know things like where you can get a little toolbox in your heavy cavalry, which would be kind of neat. Or maybe it just is like things like having an overrun type ability where when you crash into something you can overrun it, or something that denotes like cavalry operates a little bit differently than just like has more wounds and is kind of fast, right? You know what? I wouldn't mind if I had like for travel, if I could travel with like with my elite skeleton army. Let's not go full like BCR here, but yeah, like let's not be as dumb as eels and give me like some fucking just sweet cavalry stuff. I mean, you're already on the right track. Look at that fucking image. Like, look at that shit. I'm already sold. He's got like the wings.
Yeah, I mean, because Cities of Sigmar is certainly done. Like they had a picture of the book. I know they probably photoshopped it up, but like with how far ahead they work on stuff, surely Cities of Sigmar is done.
Yeah.
If dude had it in his head to make cavalry good, dude. I got these Mornfang, and like you know, there's nothing to do with them right now. So if the rules writers decide to increase the usefulness of cavalry that doesn't happen to fly and do amazing damage and have 14-inch move, like if they're able to make cavalry good that doesn't have insane stats, good, because that's my army. So yeah, please do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe they unite the traits thing again, or they just go in depth with mount traits and stuff. Like I could see there's a lot of
My hope is that they definitely don't do the Sylvaneth thing, because I'm really sick of the here's 3 pages of artifacts and command traits that are pretty cool, and then like 5 enclaves that force you to choose the worst ones for like some ability that's just barely better than choosing your own. So you have to do it, and then there's like no cool choices.
Yeah, I mean,
so I hope they don't do that.
That would just be a design fail. The other thing is like this catapult. I was actually talking to Brendan Melnick and I, because again, this was revealed when over the weekend while we were at the tournament, and I don't know if you know this, but he likes death a lot.
Oh.
So much that he might have had a handle related to it, though I forget it right now.
He's like halfway between us, right? Because he likes Nagash more than anything, and he started playing Beast. And when he started playing Beast. So he's the halfway point in interests between us, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if it was specifically Beast Claw. I seem to remember him mentioning Sylvaneth was early on, but he really had an early kinship towards them, and like they were one of his like early tournament armies and stuff. So like the box is gonna come out, and like you and I are gonna split it because you know we're friendos, and he's gonna split it with his friend himself. So
yeah, because he plays both of it's like I play Beast Claw and I play Death. So I'll split this new Death versus Beast Claw box with my friend, myself.
Yeah, so I think, and circling back to something Luke Stone here said, is it's worth noting that the Beast Claw freed the Gods of Winter from Nagash. That could be a backdrop to this Tithe of Bones, because it sounds
that
like
is one of the descriptions for how the Everwinter came about. That, you know, full disclosure, there are a few different explanations for how the Everwinter came up, but the only one that's even remotely interesting is them breaking open the cache of chained up winter spirits looking for something else, and the thing, it was this like winter demon greater spirit thing,
Mhm.
and it was so pleased that this frost lord freed it from its prison that it gave them his greatest gift, which happens to be a curse because he's a cursed spirit, but he was trying.
Yeah, he's really, really like sticking his neck up there.
It's the thought that counts.
Right. So, yeah. But like, I mean, so the Tithe of Bones, they make it sound personal because like you've got like the ogre talking, and you've got and you've got maybe the Mortark, or I think in one of them it was supposed to be Sarcophagus Man, and then the Mortark talks in his new video. Um, but they make it sound like it's a personal vendetta between the ogres and this new army. So I think we're going to see a battle box between the two, and I want that so bad. Like, give it to me. So like that'll be sweet. You've got the lore linking between them with the Everwinter thing. And the Tithe of Bones. I guess ogres could be mad that they don't have that like not only is Nagash stealing souls, but he's taking all the bones to make this army, and they don't have much to eat now. There's a lot of ways to go here. But like one of the ideas I had was like that these catapults shoot grave sites, or like, because like this one, this image here actually looks like a pile of corpses to me. So like maybe they fire like piles of corpses that can then be animated. That would be metal as hell. Yeah, so like the Pact of Bones is done. Maybe there was some like betrayal in there, right? Um, so like the ogres.
Yeah, it was strange because in the ogre reveal one with where it had like the ogre guy talking in the ogre voice,
Mhm.
he said the Pact of Bones was broken as well, and he was like really happy about it. And you'd
Mm.
think like there's got to be a pact of, so you'd think at first like, oh, there's a Pact of Bones between the Maw tribes and this new Mortark, but both of them said the Pact of Bones was broken, and no one really took credit for it.
Hmm.
And so maybe it's something else entirely.
Could be something else entirely. Could be like some sort of barrier or thing sealing something. It could be that like the ogres were being used by the legions, and then they're like, oh, like we served our term, like now we're free to go like fuck off and do what we want. But like, look at the scale of these catapults. I hope these are huge.
They're so fucking huge.
I hope we have like behemoth, like a new category that is a behemoth war machine. Like it has both keywords.
As far as I know, the biggest skyships do.
Ah,
So there is that.
yeah, give it to me. Like this is, I'm so excited about this. I don't know if it's coming across in the RantCast.
I remember like the ogre reveal video was like, you know, he had this, it was the huge tyrant talking. He's like, feeling hungry, lads? Objectives are back on the menu.
Objectives are back on the menu. Like we can capture again. Perfect. Yeah, I'm really stoked. Yeah, I've got like I think I that covered all the speculation I had. The just baseless speculation based only on pictures and videos that I've seen. But I'm going with their bone, like a lot of the forces are bone constructs, and then they're imbued with souls, and so they're like terracotta warrior style, like Nagash's take on terracotta warriors. The visuals definitely seem like Middle East to like full Eastern to me. Not Egyptian, which is fine because like now it gets to be unique and you can copyright it, right? And maybe it is a spiritual successor to Tomb Kings, but I don't think Tomb Kings players exactly like want that, because in the description of the one video it's like my masters brought me back and so on and so forth. Setcher would never refer to Nagash as his master.
Also, Cetra had the perfect end. Like the perfect end to a character arc ever.
Mm-hmm.
His whole thing, I will not serve, and then finally at last, he's like, I just saved you. I still won't serve. I did it to prove that I'm better than you. And then he walks into the warp like a boss. And he's like, I'll return someday. I'm going to go in here and fuck up some demons. And then he just leaves, never to be heard from again.
Yeah,
literally walking off into the sunset.
Yeah, and then he went off. Go ahead. Yeah, and then he went off to become the old one of the old ones that like made the Necron race, whatever. Like, like who cares?
Yep, and there you go.
Yep, there you go. Yeah, it's yeah, and I think there is a small Necron vibe to some of these with the green eyes and the like the armor in the face, but like again, they're skeletons. You can't like you can draw the parallel between anything skeletal. So I think that's a thin. I think that's a
And
thin.
Necrons are like very much, Terminator.
Yes.
And so these are now 2 or 3 stages removed from that.
Yeah.
I understand it's big armor skeletons with green eyes, but
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, Morgus, I'm hoping this is the like this right here looks pure terracotta warrior too. Silhouette right here. I'm thinking it's like I'm thinking it's like the soul the bone cast Eternals, right? So
bone cast, yeah.
yeah, I think it's like
That's what I hope it's called, just to make people upset. Bone cast.
Yeah.
Instead of Stormcast Eternals, it's like Bonecast Temporaries.
Mm. Yeah, so that's a lot of my takes. God, that's just so awesome. I'm so ready for this.
Yeah, I'm super excited, and I'm excited for the Maw tribes as well. Um, it would suck if Beastclaw kind of lost their identity in ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like at the end of my last video, I talked about my trepidations with, well, not even trepidation, just like what I hope doesn't happen, right? With the new Maw Tribes book is having, like, yeah, Beastclaw is technically in the book, and it's technically one of the 3 like different factions you can play within the book,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, so is Thunderscorn, right? And that's like that's what I don't want to happen, is that like Beastclaw becomes the Warherd or Thunderscorn or Trogoths, of the ogre book,
Right.
where it's like, what's the best way to play ogres? 90% Gutbusters and 1 Frostlord on Stonehorn. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, the doctor here says he hopes it doesn't go back to 2016 Grots plus BCR. Like,
Yeah, people chose Beastclaw and to a lesser degree Gutbusters because they don't want to move clouds of 60 Snotlings around. And if they're just like, hey, your Grots are cheaper and a little better now, so now you can play your 3 units of 20 Grots, and then some guys like, oh, please, just give us fucking rules so we can be. However, in the video, I don't seem to recall, unless I blocked it out, which is possible because I hate Grots in ogres.
mm-hmm.
I don't seem to recall seeing any Grots or anything like that. It was ogres on, like, standard ogres on foot,
Mm-hmm.
lead belchers, awesome, and Cannon of the Sky Titans, awesome, and then a Tyrant. And if we're gonna go full mixed and kind of like lose a little bit of our identity, I will gladly play a bunch of lead belchers as battle line,
Mm-hmm.
a Cannon of the Sky Titans, a Tyrant, and then 4 Stonehorns. Like, I'm in. Like, if I have to play ogres on foot, they might as well be shooting cannons at the hip. So I'm in.
Yeah.
If like that's always the stipulation, is like whenever anyone says, "Oh, I don't want this to happen. I hope this doesn't happen." There's always a little unspoken caveat at the end, unless it's awesome.
Unless it's awesome. Exactly.
So, that's that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, like I get it, with Night Haunt, um like I didn't want to play with Night Haunt stuff in Legions of Nagash unless it's awesome, and like I dig like the classic Grim Reaper thing. But remember, the Grim Reaper underneath that robe, he's always a fucking what? A skeleton. Um and like the great Grimghast Reapers don't quite like get there for me. Um and so like none of the aesthetic in Night Haunt like fully get there. Plus the models are hooky and finicky and like no thank you. But like I don't want to play with this new army in Legions of Nagash unless it's awesome. And it so far, yeah. I'm on board with the teasers so far. I've loved the videos. Um I like the potential. Because you're showing me heavy cavalry and like really sweet elite looking like dudes in armor, right? Or that are like probably constructs. Get this fucking samurai guy. What if this is actually a model? You know, this isn't just frivolous art. This is like a support hero. hell yeah. Like I'm all about it. Or like this is like one of the units what they look like. Yeah. You know, it's like a 5-man unit of just these fucking like skeleton
Yeah,
scrappers.
in a world where this actually isn't the Mortark and they juked you, this is just the leader of the squad of the guys behind him,
Mhm.
and they're just these like massive kind of no the previous picture where they're like massive pseudo suits of Chinese armor statue guys, and
Yeah.
they're just all fucking huge. Sure, yep, I'm
Mhm.
down.
Yep. 10 out of 10 would play.
Like if your whole army is like Mortarks on foot and Mortarks in the air,
Mhm.
or I mean, if your whole army is like Morghasts on foot and Morghasts in the air, it's gonna be called what's his name is gonna be called like filled pants after this on Twitter.
Oh yeah, Kyle, he's just gonna like fill his pants. Oh man.
Joke explainer, it's minimum pants and maximum pants on Twitter.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm for this. I'm super happy. I hope that they do a double box with the Maw tribes with this. So well, I mean, it's purely selfish, but like I'm all for the death. You're all for the ogres. Like, let's go.
And LON book, like it wasn't a bad book. It was cool, but
It was a
it was
band-aid.
just they took Grandeline's death and took everything out of it and just put it in a new bin
Mm-hmm.
and added like no new models, no new
Mm-hmm.
just like, well, here you go, it's repackaged Grandeline's death except good now, and it was, but it's death is actually still lagging behind on the new releases front even after Night Haunt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
And
are.
so it'd be nice for death players to get some brand new thing.
Yeah.
Same with Destruction, of course. They're the two factions that maybe a little underserved, we'll say, as far as releases are concerned.
They really are. I mean, until what's gonna happen with the Maw tribes, I was talking about how like even I saw some post on Facebook, so I should barely like give it credence, but I saw a post when like we got our teaser. They're like, "Oh, death is just someone at Games Workshop just must really love death. They're like getting all of the releases." And I'm like, "Motherfucker, we have 4 factions. Like, we have 4."
Like in Age of Sigmar, in the entirety of Age of Sigmar, you got Night Haunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Everything else was
Flesh Eater
just like a
Courts.
book or
Flesh Eater Courts and Night.
yeah, but they existed. Oh yeah, sorry. You got one new model in Flesh Eater,
Mm-hmm.
a terrain piece, and then
Yeah.
and Destruction got
You got gifts.
a whole bunch of kits for Gloomspite, which are all glorious, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. So like we're both the like underserved, yeah. And first off, don't let them divide us. Everyone deserves good shit. But the fact that I'm about to get good awesome stuff, don't like shit on my day. I had like fuck you, dude. Like I was happy when you got Gloomspike Gits. I have gone on record as talking about having like a war band in Warcry as um probably doing like Boingy Boys, and it's a shame that Fanatics aren't in there because I love the Fanatic sculpts. So like seriously, why you gotta be a dick? Why you gotta harsh my mellow, man? But finally, I'm excited about this, about like a new army. You've all had like in the last calendar year, I think a lot of people have had the opportunity to be like excited about a new faction there. I mean, maybe like it came out and it didn't meet their expectations, and they moved on from it. But that doesn't mean they weren't like, this could be great. I mean, you look at like cities. I don't think I've seen more buzz for an army than cities in, you know, 3 GHBs worth of armies and fixes and changes. Um, yeah, Free Cities is like I think that's the one I see getting the most buzz, and that could just be my circle of friends. Um, the competitive whack players are just gonna play whatever the good thing is, and I shouldn't use whack. I don't care for the term, and I don't care for the connotation. But
Oh yeah, you're right. IJ was mostly new, although it was like, at the release of AOS, but that still counts.
yeah,
But yeah, that was new.
well,
I'll back off a little bit.
yeah.
Although I will say I've put in my time.
You've done your
as
time.
BCR.
You deserve you deserve new ogres. Hopefully BCR. The thing is, if Mod Tribes comes out in BCR and aren't in it, how are you gonna feel? Are you gonna be upset that like you don't get new stuff now, or are you gonna be
No,
hopeful
like
that
I'm a patient man. I'm actually very. I won't be disappointed if Mod Tribes comes out
Mhm.
as long as it's awesome. But if Mod Tribes comes out and it's just like a mixture of Gutbusters, expanding on what is it, Fire Bellies, and rolling in new kits and stuff, and putting Man Eaters and things in there, and just really giving them their own unique, brand new AOS flavor.
Mhm.
And there's just like conspicuously no BCR anywhere in there except for a little bit in the lore and stuff. I'm like, so they're treating Beastclaw like a real army,
Right.
That's great. I'll keep waiting. Like, that's fine.
Would I?
They didn't roll Fire Slayers in with KO, right? Even though they're both dwarves, so I wouldn't be sad at all if they didn't roll both ogres in, especially since BCR was its own army before,
Right.
with its own book that came out in AOS. So it wouldn't. I guess it wouldn't surprise me at all if BCR stayed distinct because they got a book and they were their own thing within AOS.
Right.
And I don't know that there's been an army that came out with a book in AOS that then got rolled into some soup tome and kind of lost their special state.
Not that came out with a book in AOS. That hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
You've had like little like hangers on factions in the GCB.
Yeah, you've had random factions get rolled in and stuff like that, but there hasn't been a faction that got its own battle tome in AOS proper, and then like come second edition, they don't have a book anymore and they get rolled in with somebody else.
Well, yeah, Bone Splitter's and Iron Jaws, I guess. Yeah.
Until Orc War Tribes, and then I lost all hope for the future because I'm like, well, if they're gonna combine Iron Jaws and Bone Splitters, then ogres are fucking done for. We're all in the book, no question. Yeah, Dad Hammer just brought it up in chat.
Yeah.
Yep, that was my stance. And then Orc War clans got spoiled, and I'm like, oh, we're fucking done for.
But you're getting
on the menu, boys.
You're getting 2 destructions this year, then. Like. But, like, that leads me to believe that Maw Tribes will be brand new, Because IJ and Bone Splitters combined is, like, the 2 old things being put together, right? Conceivably, Maw Tribes, I think, is going to be, like, more like Gloomspite Gets, where you have some of your old stuff rolled in, but then you have, like, a distinct new set of model lines,
Yeah, I wonder how many they'll do. We've seen the Tyrant, and I really like him.
He's got the Mongolian vibe, too.
He kept that Mongolian theme, which I really do like.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if we'll get as many as Gloomspite got. Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully it's more than just Tyrant.
And hopefully it's more than, as the doctor points out here, bad save, slow, and smash. Like, be more than that. I think
a bunch of slow, bad save, bad bravery guys who hit on 4s. Yeah, I hope that's not the theme.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that, like, my next army's queued up. I feel bad for my Beast of Chaos army. I do like you guys sitting off to the side on the table here. Don't think that.
Hey,
but...
you were all ready to go all in, and then they're like, hey, guess what? Elite Death. And then, like, the models just fell from your hands.
Well, it's the meme where, like, the guy's, like, walking with his girlfriend, and, like, Beast of Chaos, is, like, he's holding hands in hands, and he's just, like, looking back, like, at the new army. And, like, I feel... The thing that makes me feel real bad is that, like, I'm like, you knew what this was. I'm a death player first and foremost. I always will be. I can't help it. And so if this army is, like, remotely, like, so, we got S tier. If it's, like, tier 1 or 1.5, I'm playing it unabashedly. Just, like, not even. And I might not even take the most optimal gross thing. I might be one of the early IDK players who actually ran a turtle, because I am obsessed with the idea of the heavy cavalry. So even if they suck, it's going to be just, like, heavy cavalry and catapults the army. That's going to fucking be it. Like, what's a shooting phase? I'm a death player. I'm so not used to this. Is this the shooting phase, and it's just 4 catapults?
Yeah.
Like...
4 catapults with, like, 1 attack,
Yeah. Is this...
like fucking blood cannons or whatever.
Yeah.
This good shooting? No.
Is this
Sorry.
good? Is this good shooting? Yeah, so I'll do that. I hope they're more like actual like artillery or war machines though. That'd be sweet. Um, yeah, plague claws.
Yeah, I want them to throw. I want them to have like a profile that's just filled with stars, which is like one attack, hits on threes, does a bunch of mortar wounds in an area, and if you get a 6 to hit, you like a grave. Suddenly, there's a grave site there, and you can animate a group of 10 skeletons or something. Just some super flavorful thing,
Yes.
possibly with better stats, so that it's actually good. Because it's my opinion, or it's my position anyway, that, and it's a position that like literally no one disagrees with, so it's not even remotely brave or anything. But models that look awesome should be good.
Yes.
Like the least controversial statement I could ever make, but they keep fucking up with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like look at
It's like in my video. I'm at Deepkin. I'm talking about you here. Pay attention.
yeah. Yeah, load a unit of battle line into it and you launch it at the enemy.
Yeah, that's your you finally get a teleport, and it's by whipping it with a skull.
Yeah, skull pile catapult. Oh man, I'm so pumped. I'm so happy. So yeah, I think I've probably ranted for about 2-3 hours now. 2 hours and 10 minutes. So that's plenty of hobby time or gym time for folks who tuned in. Yeah, wild speculation, not based on only pictures and my own just rampant imagination of what these guys could be. We'll know in 2 days though, so it won't be long. And I'm just gonna like queue up an order with Mini Stomp, and I'm hoping for the sake of my wallet it comes with an ogre box, so you and I can go halvesies and save some money.
Yeah.
Um, because
And if it's anything like the other battle boxes, it's going to feature the new model in each half of it,
mhm.
and that's going to be the only way you can buy it for several months, possibly forever, if the relictor's any indication. But some of them went in their own boxes eventually.
All right, so this will be sweet. I'll obviously be on the cavalry and order it now. Just order it now. Get me queued up.